By all accounts, Donald Trump suffered the worst Labor Day of his political life yesterday. And this was not just, oh, Kamala Harris is holding a rally with Joe Biden, but I'm not really sure what Trump is up to. This was not, oh, Tim Walz is holding a rally in Wisconsin, but I'm not really sure what J.D. Vance is up to. It was noticed even by corporate media that as the Harris-Walz ticket was out there, meeting with workers, speaking to workers in critical states, particularly for organized labor, Donald Trump is just kind of missing. And here's an MSNBC report about exactly this.
To see Donald Trump, or frankly, to not see Donald Trump on the campaign trail seems like a real unforced error. Something, if you want to stand with labor, you show up on Labor Day, right? That's kind of the mission. You contrast that with what we're seeing from the Harris campaign, which is a very intentional rollout for the first time together in this new formulation with Harris at the top of the ticket and Biden no longer on it, is the president and the vice president as a ticket showing up for a campaign event here.
So listen, we are going to get to this a little bit later because some people wrote to me over the weekend about the Bernie to Trump pipeline and the fraught nature of populist messaging that often doesn't have progressive policy with it. So we're going to get to it. But this is something much more superficial. It's Labor Day and Trump Vance are missing while Harris-Walz are in key labor states. I am going to put up on the screen what Donald Trump put out. Donald Trump put out a troth on Truth Social for Labor Day, where he said, "Happy Labor Day to all of our American workers who represent the shining example of hard work." By the way, there's random capital letters all over this thing. Shining example of hard work and ingenuity. Under Comrade Kamala Harris, all Americans are suffering during this holiday weekend. High gas prices, transportation costs are up, and grocery prices are through the roof. We can't keep living under this weak and failed, quote, leadership. That's Trump on Labor Day. And meanwhile, we saw Vice President Harris in Pittsburgh. We're going to look at a little bit more of that now. We're going to look at Tim Walz. Here is Vice President Kamala Harris reminding us the race will be tight to the end, but labor knows the way we win this thing.
So, friends, 64 days until the most election of our lives, and probably one of the most important in the life of our nation, truly. And we know this is going to be a tight race to the very end. It's going to be a tight race to the very end. So let's not pay too much attention to those polls. Because as unions and labor knows best, we know what it's like to be the underdog. And we are the underdog in this race. And we have some hard work then ahead of us. But here's the beauty of us in this room. We like hard work. Hard work is good work. Hard work is joyful work.
So Kamala Harris reminding the audience, no matter what you see in the polls, and we will look at the polls in a moment, we've got to work to the very end. Tim Walz in Wisconsin, similarly with a sort of unity message.
We respect differences. That's your opinion. Look, we're sitting here together, Brewers and Twins fans, Vikings and Packers. Look, we respect it. But on things like health care and what books I read and democracy, we all live by that very simple golden rule. Mind your own damn business. Mind your own business.
Tim Walz continuing to be really, really good at connecting with crowds in this way. And here's a little bit more from Tim Walz in Milwaukee, Wisconsin yesterday.
This guy has made it clear how he stands. He's sitting down at Mar-a-Lago after he got elected president, and this was his exact quote. He's talking to a bunch of folks at Mar-a-Lago. You're rich as hell, and we're going to give you a tax cut. At the same time, he was telling workers they get paid too much already. That's who this guy is. You tell me who in Wisconsin is sitting around saying, damn, I wish they'd give billionaires tax cuts and screw me over. Damn, I wish they'd take my health care away. I wish they'd underfund my public school. I wish they would make my job more difficult and more dangerous. And then at the end of the day, I wish they'd make me work till I'm 75 years old. No one's saying that. No one's asking for that agenda. What they're asking for is to be treated fairly with dignity. That's what we have.
So Tim Walz very much on message on Labor Day. As I mentioned, Joe Biden also speaking, and Biden seemingly also connecting with the crowd.
She'll be a historic pro-union president. So folks, we got one more job to do together. Let me ask you, are you ready to fight? Yeah! Are you ready to win? Yeah! Are you ready to elect Comm Harris our next president of the United States of America?
A very different image of a guy in Joe Biden who genuinely likes his vice president, as Harris does Walz. Very different than Trump, who seems to have growing contempt for J.D. Vance, the guy that he reportedly only selected, contrary to almost everyone around him's preferences, only because Don Jr. and Eric Trump told him, hey, here's the guy that you should pick. So where does this leave us on this disastrous Labor Day for Donald Trump? Well, it leaves us with Kamala Harris's biggest national lead in the polling since this thing started. Now, wait, David, didn't you say last week that her lead had peaked at 1.5? And didn't you tell us the week before that she had reached a 1.0% lead? And didn't you tell us the week before that it had shifted from a small Trump lead to a small Kamala Harris lead? The answer is yes. We have seen a linear trajectory where Kamala Harris went from being down a couple of points when she took over for Joe Biden on the ticket, to leading by half a point, to leading by 1 point, to leading by 1.5 points, and now leading by 1.8 on average in the national polling. The largest lead she has had so far. Now, it is still, as they've been saying, 60 plus days until this election. But if we look at Labor Day and we look at the largest polling lead she's held so far, and we look at Trump missing on Labor Day except for a stupid message on Truth Social compared with what Harris Walz are up to, you have to like the position you're in, but you still do have to execute. So let's take a break. We're going to get caught up on everything from the long weekend. I will address this Bernie to Trump pipeline thing that I heard from many of you about. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/The David Pakman Show. I've been tracking my family tree for a long time now, and the service I've always relied on is MyHeritage, which I started using long before they became a sponsor. Trusted by over 90 million users, MyHeritage makes it easy and fun to build your family tree with a range of powerful genealogy tools at your fingertips. One of my favorite features lets you quickly find new family members and add entire new branches to your tree. It's always a good time to sit down with my family, show them what I found. For example, the other day, I found a scan of an immigration document from when my mother's uncle's aunt arrived at Ellis Island, or this document from the US-Canada border for my relative who was born in 1895. This is remarkable stuff and really interesting artifacts that are part of the puzzle of my family's past. MyHeritage gives you access to over 19 billion records like this, making it easier than ever for you to uncover amazing new pieces of your family's history. You can try MyHeritage completely free for 14 days when you go to davidpakman.com/myheritage. The link is in the description.